If you drive along the coast of Peru, you're going to see some amazing sights. On one side, of course, you're going to see the Pacific Ocean. Once unknown to half of the world, the Pacific Ocean is home to a wide range of plants and animals. On the other side, you're going to see Peru. You're going to see the cliffs that surround Lima, the deserts that border the coast, and random pockets of diverse forests. Among all this, one of the more interesting sights is a large mound. Hello, my name is Luis and welcome to the History of Peru YouTube channel. Today we're going to be discussing the site of. Now, you may wonder how a large mound on the coast of Peru could be discovered. Well, the discovery of the site, if you could call it that, was not really a true discovery. The importance of the site is not in the fact that no one had noticed this large mound on the northern coast of Peru, merely 500 feet from the Pacific Ocean. The importance of this discovery that happened in 1926 by the Peruvian archaeologist Julio Citeo and the American archaeologist Alfred Kroeber occurred later. Once it was discovered that something was hiding underneath all that dirt, teams began digging at the site, and they began digging and digging under all that dirt. And there was a lot of dirt. In 1946, Jonas B. Bird and his team of archaeologists were the first to begin digging at the site. His team decided to go about this undertaking methodically. The mound itself is 62 meters wide and 138 meters long. So, instead of attempting to dig the whole mound, which would likely take decades, this team decided to focus on excavating a portion of the site that had already experienced some erosion. By digging into the base, Bird and his team were more easily able to dig into the deeper layers of the mound and reach the bottom. According to the original findings published by Bird, there was no cultural change from the top of the mound to the bottom. Based on these initial findings, Bird theorized that this mound had been inhabited by one culture. Combined with the dating of the site, he suggests that the mound was an instance of a rapid buildup, most likely a project that was the sole focus of the community inhabiting the area. Later excavations and analysis of the site suggest that this inhabitation occurred from 2500 BCE to 750 BCE. The walls of the unearthed buildings were made from cobblestone from the nearby beach. These walls were held together by a simple mortar mixture of dirt and water. The roofs of these buildings were made from wood and whale bones, sourced from the ocean nearby. The floors of these buildings were often bare and had no evidence to suggest that there was a hearth. Something interesting to note from these initial findings is that Bird found no stone tools at the site. This is a rather unique condition of the site. This would go on to have Bird suggest that this culture somehow forgot how to create stone tools. This would be disproven through later excavations, although only simple stone tools were found. Based on the size of the mounds and the number of buildings found, Bird theorized that the number of people inhabiting Huaca Prieta at any given time was no more than a couple hundred people. So, although this was a comparatively large site for the time, this would still not be what we would consider a city. So, what do we actually know about the people at Huaca Prieta? Well, we have some insight into their diet. Based on the human bones and skeletal remains of animals found at the site, we believe that the people of Huaca Prieta relied mostly on a seafood diet. This diet would be made up mostly of fish, sea urchins, mollusks, and sea lions. Additionally, some bird remains were found at the site, suggesting that some part of their livelihood consisted of them trapping birds. Tiffany Tung, a bioarchaeologist from Vanderbilt University, analyzed the human remains found at Huaca Prieta and concluded that these people mostly relied on seafood throughout the course of their life. Based on the teeth and skeletal remains found at the site, and the fact that they are nearby the ocean, this is a logical conclusion. Additionally, seeds for plants such as ají peppers, beans, various tubers, gourds, and even corn were found. But if their diet relied mostly on seafood, why spend time on the cultivation of these crops? Well, that's where things get interesting. During their excavation of the site, an incredible discovery was made. During their excavations at Huaca Prieta, archaeologists found a bundled fishing net with stone weights and gourds attached. Dating of the gourds places this artifact between 2700 BCE to 1200 BCE. In 1975, S.G. Stevens was allowed to re-examine the fishing net and the gourds. Based on this re-examination, Stevens has suggested that both con and gourds were domesticated around the same time and used in tandem for fishing. The con would be picked and then woven into fibers to create the fishing net. The gourds, on the other hand, would be dried out and be used as buoys. According to these test results, the domestication of con and gourds occurred around 2500 BCE. To put that into some context, maize and pottery were not found to be at the site until 1000 years later, around 1500 BCE. Lastly, Stevens was able to determine that the con found at the site was Gossypium barbadense, also known as sea island con. As a whole, the people of Huaca Prieta seem to have used crops in an industrial manner. Crops were expected to provide a dual purpose for the people at the site, thus making them more useful than just being a source of nutrients. Thus, in this case, gourds were cultivated not for their delicious taste, but for their ability to aid in the cultivation of fishing. As stated earlier, gourds were not the only crops grown at the site. Just like the gourds, other crops were also used in an industrial manner. Introducing the pepper. Researchers believe that based on the vast number of ají pepper seeds found at the site, that they must have served an additional purpose. Chili peppers hold a place of importance in pre-Columbian Andean societies. These peppers were often part of domestic and religious practices. This was particularly true at Huaca Prieta. The oldest pepper that has ever been discovered in Peru was from Huaca Prieta. The scientific name for this pepper is capsicum. Although not prevalent in their diet, it seems that the people of the site placed a high importance on the cultivation of ají peppers. According to Spanish chroniclers, the value of ají peppers came from the different sizes, colors, and shapes. Coincidentally, over the course of the inhabitation of Huaca Prieta, the seed size of Capsicum baccatum, a specific species of chili peppers, grew larger. Some researchers have suggested that the increase in size was a result of the selective breeding of the people at the site. Maize, or corn, was also found at the site, although rather intermittently. The maize was found dispersed throughout the site at varying levels. This would suggest that maize was not an important part of the diet for the people of Huaca Prieta. In total, around 250 cobs were excavated from Huaca Prieta, the majority of which were associated with dating from 4500 BCE to 2000 BCE. Unlike with peppers, archaeologists have not found an alternative function for the cultivation of maize, so it seems they just wanted to eat it. Since 1946, digs have consistently occurred at Huaca Prieta. But since the year 2000, we have made some amazing finds. The most important one, I believe, is the earliest example of blue found anywhere in the world. The archaeologist Tom Delahaye reported finding a textile that contained the color blue. When sent to the lab, it was determined by Jeff Splithoser, a professor at George Washington University, that the dye had been made from the leaves of a shrub of the pea family. It is currently the oldest known use of indigo in the world. Unlike in other ancient Old World cultures, it doesn't seem that this color was associated with a higher social class. Or at least we don't think so. Additional research will need to be done to see if there are more instances of this dye at the site in order to confirm this theory. Delahaye and his team suggest that this dye was in common use at the site. If this were true, that would help support his theory. Unfortunately, this is the only known example of blue dye we have found at the site. Huaca Prieta is a site that will not give up its treasures easily. New digs have not made much progress in unearthing the artifacts found deep in the mound. It is easy to imagine why the ancient people decided to build their sites here. I mean, when you look out, you see the beautiful ocean. But for me, one question remains. Why was it all covered up? Was it a natural consequence of time? Unlikely, as the rest of the area around it is bare. Was it done by the culture that inhabited the site or by subsequent culture? And if so, why? As always, I can't wait to learn more about this site in the future, and if there are any new papers made about this site, I will make sure to do an update on this. Until then, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, or you felt like you learned a little something, make sure to like the video or subscribe. You can find me on other social media, such as on Instagram, at The History of Peru, or on TikTok, at The History of Peru. I have videos coming out every 3 weeks, so I hope you join me on this journey. I have loved being able to grow this community with you, so if you can, please make sure to share this video and bring some other people along for the ride. That's all for today. Bye bye.